G'day, folks, and welcome to Blue Eyed Sports with Allan Noblett. And, folks, we have an absolutely exciting episode of AEW Dynamite last night. A fantastic show, and I'm just going to get right to it, folks. There was a promo to kick off the opening of the show, and it was Samoa Joe after At World's End. Pretty much, he's the AEW World Champion. It's his time. And, folks, we're calling, is this a start to a wind down of his career? And folks, it didn't sound like that at all at that other interview. Folks, AEW's Samoa Joe's time, his era, it's right now. Who's gonna take him out? Getting into that, we have someone people challenging already. We'll see where this goes. But with that, we jump right into the opening promo that kicked off the show. We had the Devil, Adam Cole, coming to the ring with what is now known as the Undisputed Kingdom in Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. Along with the surprise for me out of this whole Devil thing is that Wardlow is a part of this. After all the stupid vignettes, pardon me, I didn't like them. I didn't like where it was going. It felt like it was going nowhere. And then I couldn't believe he was put in it. All the squash matches that just seemed like such a waste of time. This is so much better for Wardlow because everyone wants Wardlow to do well, go up and be a face. And this is just a quick turn on the fans with Wardlow, and I think this is just as good. Not as big as going back to the 90s when you had The Rock joining the Nation of Domination, but I think that's that kind of stature standing within the Undisputed Kingdom for Wardlow. With that, the promo pretty much went on just, and folks, unfortunately, everyone's seen that this was Adam Cole, Matt Taven, Roderick Strong, Mike Bennett. Everyone's seen that. Wardlow is definitely the one and only surprise to this entire thing. With that, just, saying they did away with MJF, doing the company a favor. He's the one that got the fans to love MJF. And that was with the better than you, baby, catchphrase, I guess. One thing he used there. But ultimately, this later on comes down to the fact that the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions are Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, and that they are going for more gold. And that ultimately means that Roderick Strong is going to go after the International Championship, belonging to Orange Cassidy, and that Wardlow will be the one to go after the AEW World Championship. Now, this kind of puts things together a little bit better for Wardlow after the squash matches, the weird vignettes that it's confusing, and they were all chasing MJF. Also Adam Cole saying that he doesn't want Samoa Joe to be the champion by the time they get there because they don't want to hurt a friend, which is, I think, kind of a poor shot by Adam on his side, as that would be one hell of a world championship match, folks. Wardlow versus Samoa Joe, two very large men who can also move quickly and a whole lot of power, but the inexperience of Wardlow, or the young talent of Wardlow, I guess I should say, versus the veteranship of Samoa Joe, the AEW World Champion. And he's worked very hard to get there, folks. With that, the one poor thing in the promo was that Adam tried to blame MJF for his ankle. Come on, Adam. You jumped off a ramp and it was just a stupid situation, and what happened? Please don't use something like that. That was weak. Everybody saw it. It was so weak. Why did you use that? With that, extra questions behind this, folks. MJF is supposed to be away. There are questions on my social media, anyway, that his contract is up in the air again somehow. How long is he going to be out? He may be dealing with multiple injuries. So, how long is he going to take to recover? How much time is he going to have off? Is there contract issues? With that, the only other contract stuff I'm going to talk about today is my social media, a couple of different wrestling outlets have come out and said that AEW has signed Mercedes Moné from New Japan Pro Wrestling, the former Sasha Banks of WWE, the former multi women's champion. That would be a huge signing at $5 million a year for 5 years, and that's what the contract details seem to be multiple times. I hope this is true, folks. With the character of Timeless Tony Storm, Jade Cargill being gone to WWE, this would be huge. And they're already doing work with New Japan Pro Wrestling, but is WWE under the table paying Mercedes Moné to stay away from AEW? Because this would be a big deal, and this is probably why Tony Khan is going to have to shell out so much money for her. Just a great contract situation. I love talking about this. Folks, we are talking about contract situations between multiple companies in wrestling again. Yeah, with that, at the end of that promo, Adam says that when he becomes healthy, that Wardlow is going to befriendingly hand over the AEW World Championship to Adam Cole. That could be the face turn back for Wardlow. Hopefully it is. I don't want to see Wardlow used almost like kill switch, hashtag Luchasaurus. But that's pretty much where that went, folks. And then after this, while they're out there, Jay White comes out and kind of calls them out for attacking him. The Guns come out to give him a hand. Wardlow has to help Adam Cole out of the ring. Wardlow comes back in, gives the Undisputed Kingdom a bit of a advantage while in the ring. With that, the Acclaimed come out, who were also attacked in this. So numbers game turn again, this time in favor of the Gun Club and the Acclaimed. And this comes down to after the ring is cleared of the Undisputed Kingdom, the Gun Club, or the Bullet Club maybe, with the Acclaimed, they're just kind of standing there. There's a bit of a standoff, and it just seems to end on fair ground. Jay White gets the Guns and they back out, and the Acclaimed, they're just kind of there, and then they play with the crowd a bit. It just seemed to end on fair ground. How much damage to themselves has the Undisputed Kingdom done, where they've created so many enemies in their pursuit of the AEW World Championship from MJF? Does this all unfold for them later on? Just a little bit of layering story for you there. Hopefully that's... I really liked how that ended between the Acclaimed and the Bullet Club, where they're not exactly on this... They're not exactly favorites of each other, but they kind of seem to be on fair ground with the same direction aimed at the Undisputed Kingdom. Really liked how that ended. Folks, after that we had Eddie in a vignette/promo on winning the Continental Classic and becoming the Triple Crown Champion. And congratulations to Eddie Kingston beating Jon Moxley at World's End to become the Triple Crown Champion. He deserves it, and he just talks about the competition that he had to face in order to get through this. And I'm just going to mention, the poor start, a couple of losses to begin with, and then to come all the way back to win. Congratulations, Eddie Kingston. After that, there was a little promo with Daniel Garcia, I think it was with Renee, maybe. No, it wasn't. But it was just talking up the main event match with Swerve Strickland tonight. So Daniel Garcia, Swerve Strickland, and it's kind of about two young men who are kind of they're growing, they're getting better, we could see these guys in title matches in the future. Just kind of like how they're building that rivalry a bit. And folks, we finally get to the opening match of the night in the International Championship match between Orange Cassidy and Dante Martin, and Orange Cassidy coming out with Danhausen and Hook to back him up in this one. started off back and forth opening, couple of quick pin attempts. There was a bit of a test of strength there. Gets into a bit of a rope running thing going on. Two pin attempts by Dante. Orange rolls outside of the ring, and this ends up turning around where Orange is back in the ring. Dante ends up outside. Orange does a tope. And this is kind of funny where this leads to. There's a guy dressed as Dusty Rhodes in the black and yellow polka dot get up, and the crowd actually starts chanting for the fan, Dusty, Dusty, Dusty. And it was just incredibly funny. This ends up leading to Dante hitting a suplex outside of the ring. Then this turns around, Dante with his own tope, and then he comes back in with a wicked high crossbody. And again, Dante Martin's height off these springboard moves or from the top rope, the height he gets is just impressive. And like Taz said during the show, the height, or maybe it was Tony, but the height he gets, it's almost like time stands still and he hangs up there for a minute. It's just very impressive what the guy can do. And then this ends up getting funny again. Dante ends up mocking Orange Cassidy's the light chop and the light leg kicks. And he does it and the crowd goes with him. And he ends up trying to use it to the advantage of getting to a super kick. Orange avoids it. He hits his own super kick, hits Dante with a great super kick. And then you just end up having Orange come into an excellent tilt-a-whirl DDT, hitting Dante with that. Both men to the top of the rope. Dante ends up getting knocked back down by Orange, diving DDT by Orange Cassidy, kick out by Dante. Orange punch attempted and a beach break reversed, and this ends up leading around to a senton hit by Dante, goes to the top rope. And this leads to Orange Cassidy, his really laid back demeanor where he just keeps on rolling out of the way. But with that, he rolls to almost the other side of the ring, and Dante is still able to go 3/4 of the distance, or maybe a little bit better of a fraction there, almost to the other side of the ring to hit a big splash on him. Just the height and the distance that the guys of Top Flight can do is just so impressive. Dante ends up hitting that big body splash all the way across the ring. There's a couple pin attempts back by Dante there, and then a surprise out of nowhere Orange Punch, and still your AEW International Champion, Orange Cassidy, folks. He's popped up, hit him with an Orange Punch, and he ends up getting back into this. And while they're kind of celebrating, there's a couple of handshakes back and forth between Dante Martin and Orange Cassidy. And folks, Quinn of Private Party comes back, and we have Private Party back. Mr. Coattails himself. I hope he keeps doing. I hope he brings back the coattails. But one of the most exciting tag teams from the beginning of this company are back. They're both healthy, and they call out the entire tag team division. They call out Top Flight. They call out the Best Friends. They call out FTR, and even to the point where they even the Hardy Boys. So their alliance is obviously over with Matt and Jeff. But just great to see Quinn back, and Private Party, one of the original tag teams from when the company started. Just happy to see that they're back. I really hope he brings back the coattails. With that, folks, we just have a little promo with Renee and Timeless Tony Storm, and pretty much just she's Mariah May, her admirer, wants her to watch her debut match in this show last night, and she's just kind of, oh, I should be in New York on Broadway, and what am I doing in New Jersey? And just funny promo. The character continues. I love it. Anyway, that ends, and we end up having a vignette with the House of Blacks, Buddy Matthews, and Malachi Black. And this is a call out on FTR. And folks, an odd thing that I didn't know about, but Malachi Black went 0 for 0 in singles matches in 2023. He didn't have one. Or if he did, it didn't even happen. Like, what? Folks, I just like on the outside, like looking from outside of the box, that doesn't seem right at all. Like, I get trying to get the trios going and tag team stuff going, and Malachi Black helping out other folks and Brody King and Buddy Matthews in that sense. But for him to not be used in any singles matches was kind of a mind-blowing stat to me. And that was just something I seen from my social media. If anyone knows if that's wrong, please let me know. With that, FTR versus the House of Blacks, Buddy Matthews and Malachi Black, this Saturday on Collision. Right after this, we have Renee again, this time with Swerve and Prince Nana, and this is pretty much just the rebuttal to Daniel Garcia's earlier promo. But this is kind of like talking about both of them being young, coming off good stuff in the Continental Classic, and really he quickly turns to Samoa Joe, and he wants to challenge for the AEW World Championship, folks. Swerve had a big come up in the Continental Classic. I like the way he's going. The leader of the Mogul Embassy, and I like what he's doing. And the fans seem to like it too. Everyone doing the Prince Nana dance, pretty much like everybody in the building when he comes out, and he's a fan favorite. Good stuff. But anyway, we'll move on to the actual debut of Mariah May, finally, against Queen Aminata. And folks, a very impressive start to this match for Mariah May. An early advantage for her. She hits this great Hurricane Rana and then comes back with like just excellent conviction and a drop kick. Drops Queen Aminata that way. Turns her around, gets her tied up in the ropes kind of, and then goes and hits the ropes, comes back and hits another drop kick, this time to the back. And she ends up playing to the crowd a little bit. Stays on the offense, and eventually we finally have Queen Aminata reverse from the top rope, and then she comes back in, hits a couple of hard slaps to her, and this leads to a really hard clothesline, good running knee, and then this ends up leading to Mariah May being jammed into the corner by the Queen, and a couple of big elbows, and eventually this turns to where Mariah May comes out of the corner pretty strong with a really good sling blade, and then she hits what she calls the Mayday. And folks, a little bit faster than we thought, as Queen Aminata was also making a return. But Mariah May with the win in her debut. With that, as soon as the match is over, Renee comes out to interview her, and pretty much the same as Toni Storm's promo just before the match, she pretty much does the same thing and is like, ugh, New Jersey. But folks, a new signing for AEW, Deonna Purrazzo, the former Ring of Honor Women's World Champion, comes out, interrupts, and she just happens to be from New Jersey, so that just happens to work out. She tells the crowd and Mariah May that she is all elite, tries to get Mariah May to deliver a message to Toni Storm that she wants to go after her. Mariah May pretty much like, I'm not the messenger, you can tell her yourself, you dummy. Anyway, there's a couple slaps exchanged, and this ends up turning to a great big boot from Deonna, knocking Mariah May out of the ring, and that's how that little set ends there. In just a moment, folks. Excuse me. And folks, we finally lead into the promo with Christian Cage coming out with the rest of the Patriarchy and the Kill Switch and the Waynes. Starts off Shayna Wayne just being annoying. Of course, the delusional heel Christian going on that he's somehow won the championship twice. Luchasaurus. And then there's a part of the promo where he ends up Christian Cage, he ends up starting to thank the Waynes, both Shayna Wayne and Nick Wayne. But again, he doesn't thank Killswitch, Luchasaurus. And you could see, like, as this continues to grow, that Luchasaurus / Killswitch, whichever, that he's really bothered by it. Like, really bothered by it, but he ends up standing in it. Just painful, and I was expecting someone to come out at some point, like a challenge, an eruption, something, and we just end up with a finished heel promo. Okay, after that, we go and jump over to Renee backstage with Ruby, Saraya, and the crazy woman, Harley Cameron, who seems to be now part of the Outcast. And there's a little promo back and forth here, and Ruby kind of like, we've already done the crazy blonde thing before. And it's like, it'll work this time, Saraya. But anyway, there's a little thing said to Harley Cameron from Saraya at the end, and it's almost like, listen to me and we'll get through this. Is there a turn on Ruby coming? Is pretty much the only thing I'm going to say there, but that seems to be laying the foundation for that. We'll have to see if that actually goes that way. And folks, that leads into the Alpha Konosuke damn it, I always say this wrong. Konosuke Takeshita, against Darby Allin. And folks, this was as Jim Ross, happy birthday, would say, a slobber knocker. This thing was amazing, brutal, hard-hitting. Folks, and this starts off with pretty much Takeshita ragdolling Darby Allin to the ground. Quick pin by Darby is turned around, back and forth, and a little bit of in-ring positioning. A big back body drop by Takeshita, then this leads to a couple of headlock takeovers to Darby. Then this leads to Darby's high, kind of springboard off the top rope, arm drag. This dumps Takeshita out of the ring. At the same time, Darby goes and runs the ropes. He goes for a tope, and just excellent timing by Takeshita. What was supposed to be a knee to the head, and that's the way it was played. If you watch the replay, he ends up kneeing him in the shoulder. I wish they had called it that way instead of telling it like he got him in the head. Hard shot in the shoulder would have been just fine. But with that, Darby is picked up by Takeshita, and Takeshita carries him up the ramp, and then German suplex, like rolling German suplexes, 3 times down the ramp. And just a lot of power displayed by Takeshita in this match. This ends up leading back into the ring. Darby reverses a power slam attempt from the top rope into a bit of a stunner, and leads to him actually hitting a tope outside the ring as Takeshita dumped out again. Darby is then caught in, like, I don't know, he like underarmed his legs, and it's like a weird modified tombstone / pile driver thing. I'm not sure what to call that. If anyone knows what that move was, I'd like to hear it. I don't know what that was. Darby then avoids a knee strike in the corner. After this, it leads into outside the ring strike. Darby's down in the corner. Takeshita tries to hit a knee while he's down. Darby dumps outside. He goes up against the railing. Then Takeshita goes and tries for a running knee outside, and he ends up. Darby gets out of the way, and Takeshita dumps himself over the railing, and looks like he's holding his knee in a lot of pain. And this ends up leading to an opportunity for Darby to hit a coffin drop. He ends up going to the top rope while Takeshita's still outside of the ring, and hits it perfectly. Very great coffin drop. This ends up leading to Takeshita having to beat the count, and just barely does beat the 10 count to get back into the ring. Quick code red as soon as he does, and obviously right into a pin by Darby Allin. With that, a coffin drop attempt is attempted in the ring, and Takeshita gets his knees up, so he's ready for it the second time. And then a huge German suplex hit on Darby, and then another heavy German suplex hit by Takeshita. There's a suplex attempt reversed into a roll-up, followed by a crucifix pin all by Darby. And then Takeshita ends up being able to get up and hit a huge lariat. Takeshita ends up throwing Darby into the corner, hits him on a huge, big boot, ends up putting Darby up on the top rope in the reverse position, so facing out of the ring. They end up going up to the top rope, and Takeshita hits a great avalanche German off the top rope, and while Darby's down, and he's just taken that, and he gets back up, and he's like, "Come on, Takeshita," and Takeshita just goes and running knee right into Darby, and Darby's not able to kick out of that one, folks, and Konosuke Takeshita takes down the win over Darby Allin. Caveat to this is we end up having Renee backstage with the entire Don Callis family, Will Hobbs. Who's that other guy? Can never remember his name. Anyway, the guy that nobody remembers. and Takeshita there with him. And folks, they are pretty much calling out Sting, where a place where he hasn't lost apparently like 25 times. They want Sting and Darby Allin. It'll be Takeshita and Will Hobbs versus Sting and Darby Allin. We'll have to see how that goes down. And folks, the follow-up to this is the Continental Championship Eliminator Fatal 4-Way match between Trent Beretta, the Machine Brian Cage, the Bounty Hunter Brian Keith, and Vikingo. Folks, before I get into that actual match, Brian Cage ends up coming out with a shirt that says Swolverine, and I'm not going to lie, they should change his name to the Swolverine Brian Cage. Like, that would be so much cooler than just the Machine. Like, the Swolverine. Come on, man. Like, that works so much better. Like, frig, play off of that somehow. The Swolverine Brian Cage. Like, that sounds amazing. Just a moment, folks. So, folks, Fatal 4-Way. This ends up a little bit of back and forth in the top between the four men, but Vikingo ends up hitting a tope to Brian Cage. This ends up leading to Trent and the Bounty Hunter, Brian Keith, in the ring. They exchange some strikes. Keith ends up hitting a big boot. We end up turning around. Vikingo does this backflip arm drag into a tilt-a-whirl Hurricane Rana, which was kind of, like, cool. Cage ends up reversing everything that after that Vikingo tries to throw at him. This ends up leading to Trent and Cage in the ring together, and Trent actually getting the advantage here, hitting a half Nelson, and then hitting a cross body out of the ring. Just good work by Trent there on Brian Cage. And then Cage is able to get the advantage back over Trent, hits a suplex on him. This ends up leading to Cage back into the ring and meeting Vikingo, and Vikingo with a great, like, spinning reverse heel kick, connecting with Cage. This leads to Vikingo hitting a springboard drop kick and then double knees in the corner. He ends up going to the top rope after that, and Brian Keith taking advantage of it. He very quickly hits him with a really strong headbutt. Knocks him off the ring with a couple more eventually. Brian Cage catches the Bounty Hunter, and then while he's still on the top, and he's going to go for like an avalanche suplex kind of thing, but Trent Beretta ends up coming up and German suplexing Brian Cage out of that position. This ends up leading him to going into a knee strike to Vikingo, and then Keith ends up hitting a clothesline, all men out in the ring. This leads to Brian Cage hitting a cyclone on the Bounty Hunter, turns around, catches Trent into a double powerbomb, goes for the pin, doesn't work out. Folks, Danhausen comes into the ring, and he ends up putting a curse on Brian Cage. After that, we have Vikingo hitting a moonsault outside to Brian Cage. After this, we're left with the bounty hunter, Brian Keith, hitting a diving headbutt, and Trent is able to kick out of this. And then Beretta, I forget this move, but it's kind of like the reverse of what Takeshita did earlier, the underhooked on the legs, but he's like a backpack, upside down. Drops him, great hold in the pin, and folks, Trent Beretta is the number one contender to Eddie Kingston's Triple Crown, and that match will also happen on Collision this Saturday. Man. After this, folks, we end up going into a quick interview between Renee and Daddy Magic, Matt Menard, and it's quickly interrupted by Hangman Adam Page, and he is pissed. And he's pretty much looking for a fight with anyone. He doesn't care who the heck it is, and he's going to fight somebody. And promo. Folks, and then we hit our main event of the evening, Swerve Strickland versus Daniel Garcia. In just a moment, folks. So, folks, the main event, again, of the evening, Swerve Strickland coming out with Prince Nana, Daniel Garcia for their match. Folks, this ends up being a quick, back and forth, but Swerve getting the advantage each time over Daniel. A couple of shoulder blocks, a little bit of a standoff there, a couple pin attempts back and forth. And, again, Swerve continually got the advantage over Daniel Garcia. But to the point that Garcia just stays down and then tries to bait Swerve into going into the ground with him, and he does it. He gets him down, gets him right into a crossface, antagonizing him down there, and it works quite well. This ends up into a running of the ropes where Garcia finally hits a kitchen sink, and then knees Swerve to the outside, throws him into the barrier. Daniel Garcia and Prince Nana, of course it was coming, a dance-off between the two of them. Prince Nana doing the Swerve dance. Friggin', you've got Daniel Garcia with the hip thrusts that he does, and it was funny. But ultimately, this was to try to distract Daniel Garcia from Swerve. Not able to take advantage, Garcia was actually ready for it, and he was able to fend off that distraction. Prince Nana is able, there's a point where they're on the apron, and the ref is trying to get them separated. Bruce Remsburg, he's trying to get the two men separated. Of course, he's trying to separate Swerve. This allows Prince Nana to grab Daniel Garcia's leg. Excuse me. And this gives Swerve the advantage. He ends up hitting a Death Valley driver on the apron, of course, the hardest part of the ring. And folks, that just started to turn things there. Wrong page. And folks, this ends up leading to Swerve beats down Garcia in the corner with a whole bunch of elbows. Garcia comes out swinging after this and beats down Swerve into the opposite corner, hits a stalling back suplex, ends up getting into a pin. This leads to a kick out. Swerve turns this into his own pin. Kick out again. Swerve goes into a capture backbreaker. Great backbreaker, by the way. Different way of doing it. Swerve drops Garcia in the center of the ring. Goes for the pin. Again, we have a kick out. Daddy Magic, they end up leading to outside. If there's large gaps here, I'm not watching the side by side during commercials, folks. So this sometimes jumps ahead. But Daddy Magic Matt Bernard ends up distracting Swerve, and Garcia is able to take advantage there as Swerve was not ready for that. Getting in Matt Bernard's face. Garcia ends up, they clear the announce table, and why does Daniel Garcia go for a sharpshooter after clearing the announce table like he's going to drop him through it? That made no sense, but they end up falling off of the table. And it doesn't work out for both men in like either way. Kind of like disappointing. I'm so confused. Why did you do a sharpshooter on the table after clearing it off? Like, could have done like a neck breaker, suplex, something. That was confusing. It was weird. Anyway, both men back into the ring. Garcia ends up hitting a superplex from the top rope. Swerve rolls over like a classic Eddie Guerrero. The leg swings and then runs into his own suplex, both men down. This leads to Garcia hitting a huge knee and then a big running big boot. Swerve hits the flatliner out of nowhere, and then that leads to a house call. Garcia kicks out again. This goes for Swerve going to the top rope, going for the Swerve stomp. And how the hell does Swerve kick out of the Swerve stomp? I was actually quite impressed that he did. With that, Garcia ends up going for a crucifix pin. Swerve kicks out, hits the house call a second time, and then there's like this weird driver, like, I don't know, this is another move I haven't heard of, folks. He ends up hitting the driver, gets the pin combo at the same time, and folks, Swerve Strickland beats Daniel Garcia. Again, two young men who hopefully can go a long way in wrestling. Hopefully we keep seeing them to grow. But with that, after the match, Swerve goes to shake Daniel Garcia's hand for the match. And this leads to Prince Nana giving a low blow to Daniel Garcia. With that, Matt Menard is ringside at the announce table. He comes in, obviously, to help his partner, and he goes right after Swerve instead of Prince Nana. I was kind of like confused. He didn't really go for a shot, at least. But ultimately, like, Swerve's the bigger issue there, but I get it. He ends up being taken down by Swerve Strickland, and then, folks, Hangman Adam Page on an absolute strut out to the ring. And he comes out to face Swerve. It's quite short. They end up going shot for shot. A whole bunch of referees, security staff come out to try to separate them. Hangman Adam Page actually has... Now, I talked about a previous, like, trying to separate, like, Adam Copeland and Christian Cage last week, and it just didn't work for me. It looked like it was, like... Again, I'll go back to the time that Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker and WWE end up going all over a damn arena and legitimately going after each other to the point where it's an effort to try to separate them. And that's how this stuff has to be done with that kind of conviction of movement. And it's done pretty well here, and I did like it. And again, Hangman Adam Page breaks free. He goes after Swerve, and then he's pulled back again and, like, done half decently. And then... you have Swerve able to break away from his crowd. He gets in. Again, they're separated. And, folks, that's how AEW Dynamite finishes up the evening. Excellent show. WWE in ratings in these past couple of weeks. I guess we had almost 1 million viewers on a Dynamite, and that's going well. And just to throw out to Tony Khan, can you try to get... your other shows to regular TSN cable and not just on TSN Plus, because not everybody's using that. And it would get you more audience, at least in Canada. Please. Please, I will do more coverage. I would cover the other shows. I'm still at the point I'm trying to argue with myself to not go back to WWE and cover Raw and SmackDown. I have no interest in NXT. And good job forcing them to Tuesday. Yeah, what a night, folks. A fantastic night. Next week, AEW Dynamite is coming from Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. Rampage is this Friday on TNT. Collision this Saturday, also on TNT in the States, from the Bojangles Coliseum in Charlotte, North Carolina. Again, a place where Sting hasn't lost. And with that, folks, some talk about Blue Eyed Sports overall. Unfortunately, we're hitting a 2-week break for the Premier League, and they aren't back until the 13th of January, so next week, folks. So I've got nothing to cover tomorrow, unfortunately. So, folks, there is no Blue-Eyed Sports tomorrow. I have not been able to find any content that I would like to deliver. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of a silly season going on in Formula One, so that's something I couldn't cover. One Premier League thing, well, not Premier League thing, but English football thing to mention. We do have an FA Cup third-round match today between Crystal Palace and Everton at... can't do math. At 4 o'clock, Crystal Palace at home for that game. Again, it's the third round. Might cover the FA Cup and where the Carabao... Hey, folks, I'm going to see what's going on in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup tomorrow morning. It'll be a little bit of a shorter show, but that's something to cover. Yeah. Cover the cups, where everyone's at, who's left in it. Yeah. Holy crap. Okay. So, folks, this has been Blue-Eyed Sports with Allan Noblett, episode 32. Again, we'll be back tomorrow with English football coverage. We'll talk about where we're at in the Carabao Cup and FA Cup. And, yeah. Thanks, folks. Have a great day. Oh, no. It didn't work. Shit. Bye.
Tell me what hides behind your eyes. When darkness falls, does it whisper all its secret lies? Can you hear me? Are you still there? Does anyone care?